Well, Hawkeye fans, if that wasn't a summation of this Iowa men's basketball season, then I don't know what is. We welcome Coach Gary Close to the mix. Well past Gary's bedtime. Everybody be kind to Gary with us. I did not pick out this shirt. The color means nothing. It is what it is. Sometimes it happens. So don't shoot me for that, folks. Gary, I don't know where to start. We're going to put our caller on hold. If you want to call in and ask Gary a concise question, we have him for a little bit here this evening, but we're going to be quick with our calls, at least until Gary logs off. I tell you, I'll start with one thing, Gary. I don't know that I've seen a game with so many close reviews down the stretch. Holy cow.
Wow.
So that's one thing. I think the next thing I would say is I thought Iowa got the better share of those calls basically every time. There were 3 straight. The one was pretty clear that what's-his-face's foot was on the line. Although, from the other angle, I wondered if his toe was actually down. But it was called out of bounds. There's no way you can overturn that one. The other 2, if I'm an Oregon fan and you lose this game, I'd be mad. Because I don't know how you overturn the first one. It's too close to overturn, in my opinion. The last one, I would say the same. I would have went with Iowa, but it was the first one that really would get me if I was an Oregon Duck fan. Let's start with that. I know this is a loss and it's impactful and they're 5-10 in the conference, but talk about those last few reviews. And do you agree with me on kind of the outcome?
Yeah, I do. I thought, depending on the shot, it kind of different angles made it look different, and then a couple, I thought, I don't think it's clear that they're going to be able to overturn it. And I was surprised. And same thing with the other 2. I didn't think any of them were going to be overturned, but they had their chances. They missed a couple of layups that really, really hurt. I mean, point blank, wide open layups that, they make 80% of the time. So yeah, it's a game that was right there. It's a tough loss.
It sure is, and this team is reeling, no question. My thought process heading into this game, Gary, was given where they're at with the conference record. If we're talking NCAAs, we're not talking about seeding in the Big Ten. If we're talking NCAAs, I still believe they have to be 10-10 to feel decently good about where they're at heading into conference tournament. They can still get to 10-10, but now they have to win every game from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
It's unlikely to happen. But if they did, Gary, they'd have a win at Illinois and versus Michigan State. But this was a game that, I think a lot of people called a must-win. And it's an Oregon team that's lost some close games this year, Gary. They've been very much up and down, well-coached under Dana Altman. But they've been an up-and-down team, and one of their better players struggled tonight.
Struggled big time, yeah. To think I think he only ended up with maybe 1 or 3 points. And, boy, you'd think you have a great chance of winning a game like that. They have been up and down. Started out really strong where they're ranked, and then they had a bad skid and fell out of the rankings and have been kind of so since. So, but a dangerous team. They've got some players, but this was a game they had right there if they'd have just made a couple more plays.
Impactful, and we may look back and say this was the game that really did Iowa in, because if you win this one, then you get a very beatable Washington team at home Saturday. And we talked about this heading into the game, Gary. It's like, well, okay, you lose at Maryland, but you win 3 of 4 if you get these 2 at home and you have a little momentum, and now you're stuck trying to find it again with your back up against the wall at 5-10 and an overall record that's not looking too hot either, and a resume that's not even close to being a bubble team. First of all, let's acknowledge this. I know it could have went a couple of different directions, and I'm sure people are going to disagree with this choice, but our RTI Threads player of the game is Evan Bronze. 15 points, 4 of 4 from the field, 7 of 9 from the line, 3 rebounds. I understand Peyton scored 25 on 9 of 16 shooting, made 4 threes, had 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Josh Dix, 19 points, 8 of 15. And maybe I'm a little salty, the inner fan in me, Gary, because I watched Josh Dix and Peyton Sandfort both missed layups in critical moments down the stretch of this game, especially the Peyton one was just egregious. How you missed that layup, I don't know. But Evan Bronze, they don't even play this team down the stretch to 80, 78 if it wasn't for Evan Bronze and his contributions. It's as well as we've seen him play in a Hawkeye uniform. Got to be happy for him because, boy, even up until the last millisecond, he made his best effort to put that shot up with his left hand, mind you, up back on the rim to give it a shot at tying it to go to overtime. Just your thoughts on the hometown kid, Evan Bronze.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they've had a hard time replacing Owen, and for him to come off the bench and play like that against Oregon's got some size in there. It's not like he was going against a bunch of small guys that he could take advantage of. So by far his best game, and they wouldn't have even had a chance if it hadn't been for him. I thought he was really good.
Evan Bronze, our RTI Threads player of the game, and the guy he was matched up with at least part of the night was Oregon's best player, at least this evening, and that's Nate Biddle. What makes him so effective? He's also a in-state land for Dana Altman. He's from Oregon, but he just seems to be so effective, and he hit a couple of heroic jump shots as well. He was effective everywhere. Yeah,
he's a good-sized kid, and has played the game a little bit, and can make a three, and is also very, very good in and around the basket with either hand. So he's a handful. He's one of the better big men in the league, and they had a hard time controlling him.
All right, we're going to be a little quick with our calls tonight because we have a bit of a deadline here. So let's go to our phone line here. Appreciate you calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close. Who's on the line?
Hey. This is Corey.
You're on the air. Yep, that's me.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, Gary. Hope you're doing well. As far as for that, I was just calling. Haven't heard from you guys in months. I'm horny as fuck.
I missed that.
Yeah, we all missed that. Let's go to our next caller. Doug, welcome. We have
Hey,
the
Doug.
idiots on the loose.
Hi,
the
guys.
idiots on the loose are in droves tonight, Doug. I don't know if I cut him off in time or not. But anyways, go ahead, Doug. What's your question?
Question. I don't know. This just feels like one of last. I don't know. It just feels like the last of France maybe games, but we'll see. It feels like so many of the other Iowa games, just not quite enough. The home games, at least they play competitive at home, but you're supposed to win these games at home, and now they're in trouble of not making the Big Ten tournament. I guess I saw Peyton be pretty emotional. What do you tell a team coach Close right now? Hey, they still, you still want to win every game. You got the Big Ten tournament. Like I said, it's now, I want to say one other thing, and this will be my hot take. Steve Pikiell is a very overrated coach at Rutgers. Sorry. But what do you tell I think they're losing to Washington right now, and I just don't understand with 2 NBA top 10 picks how Rutgers isn't – how they might miss the Big Ten tournament. I don't understand how he's not on the hot seat.
Real quick. Just refer back to the Miami Heat in their first season with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. It doesn't always work right away, right, Gary? When you have a bunch of superstars, especially when you're talking about college kids fresh out of high school.
Yeah, that's been a real interesting thing to watch. They were ranked to begin with, and they're like second, third draft picks in the NBA. I'm shocked. I think like a lot of things. I'm not sure the chemistry is great when you have 2 guys like that are getting all the notoriety, probably getting all the money, and
they're not. They're not thinking about their future with Rutgers. They're already in the NBA.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's kind of what Kansas is going through now. I mean, Kansas gets beat by 30 plus yesterday, and it's chemistry. The whole NIL and it's chemistry is hard to do, especially this day and age. And so I think both those teams are suffering from it.
Provo is a tough place to play, but to your point.
Kansas doesn't lose by 35.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Actually, I have another question for yes, not really what you tell the team, but with these games that are so close, and if you're the coach and you had a wish list, what is the player? And don't just say rebounding. What it just seems like Iowa's missing a piece. Do you agree? Like, what piece would they be able to add? Would Owen make the difference right now in that 2-point game, or was just?
I think so for sure. Oh yeah. He's what 16-9 or close to it. That's a big hole, and there's size in there to give him. They're just not very big in there. I think if they could have lost one person, least afford to lose, it would have been him. They just don't have anything like him beyond that. So that was a blow.
However, can I just say real quick? However, you're not going to sit here and try to tell me that Owen's a better rim protector defender than Evan Bronze, Lodgy, Riley. Like, I don't think, if anything, they've been better on the interior defensively since he's been out. Like, they were getting absolutely.
Well, that might be, but they're getting killed on the boards. I mean, he was a good rebounder, solid rebounder.
Well,
and he was an inside threat. Now Bronze gave it to him tonight, but that's been the only game.
I'm just saying they had 3 horrendous offensive performances with him in the lineup at USC, at UCLA, and at Wisconsin, where they're giving up 100 points on average, over 100 points. So I mean, like, I'm just saying, I'm not saying you're wrong, Garrett. I agree it's a blow, but Doug, you get where I'm coming from here. Like, I don't want the attention directed to injuries.
That's what I wasn't trying to give Fran a pass, but I wanted to look at these home games and say they were close in these home games, and close doesn't matter in anything but hand grenades and horseshoes. But they play competitive in these games, and I'm just saying they're just missing a piece. The other thing, Brock, that block shot when he went up against the 7-footer, I don't know what he was thinking. I really think if Drew was healthy, this game could have been a little bit different too. And again, I'm not trying to say the injuries and Fran doesn't get an out, but man, they're playing with everything they got.
I'll tell you this right now, Gary. This is going to seem harsh, but Drew Thelwell must have been in an iron lung the last 10 minutes of this game, because I don't know what Brock Harding is giving them right now. And for Drew Thelwell not to be out there, he must not be 75%.
Well, they said that ankle was the size of
it must be something.
Yeah. Well, he's on the bike. I didn't think he looked. He obviously wasn't springy when he was in there early, but I don't know what's going on, Brock. Gary, to me, he is completely ineffective right now on both ends.
Yep.
I mean, his size. You notice his lack of size even more when he's struggling on offense. But
I just my last point. I just watched that Bennett Schultz kid from. If Ben McCollum comes here, he needs to bring that kid with him. But I was just imagining if he was our point guard instead of Brock, what it would have been like, because that kid's a player at Drake. If you know what I'm talking about, the Northwest transfer, he's averaging I think he's leading the nation in minutes, and he's averaging close to 20 points a game. And I'm just I'm wondering what he would look like in a Hawkeye uniform next year. But Coach, like I said, my question is, how do you rally the troops? They got a big game against Washington. You at least got to try to make the bit. I mean, Peyton was in tier. What was the deal with Peyton at the end there? Corey,
I think he realizes that they're just almost done. Don't you think he realizes that, Gary? I don't think we're the only ones that sat here and said this was pretty much a must win.
Yeah, no, it's you're running out of opportunities.
Yes.
And you're at home and a team that's in the middle of the pack at best. You got to win that game.
Is anybody
they had a chance to do it?
I know this has been brought up before, Gary, but there were a couple questionable no calls on potential travels in that first half. Were you surprised to not see Fran McCaffrey showing any emotion or getting in the officials' faces? Is that odd to you that we're not seeing more emotion out of him in critical games like
Maybe
this?
A little bit. Maybe it's a little different than what we've seen in the past.
We say he checked out 2 months ago, Corey. You can't keep on.
I never said that. I never said that. But people have said that. But I found myself verbalizing that tonight. wow, that looked like a travel, and Fran's not saying anything. I mean, he says stuff when it's not a travel. He's going to be in their face regardless, and he's just not doing that right now. Anything else, Doug?
Other people, just again, this one hurts. Like I said, I think you got to play as hard as you can, and I think they should beat Washington. And please, people, injuries are not a get out of jail free card. But these guys, Evan Braun's, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you chose him as your RTI thread player of the game, because I would never have guessed him getting 15 points and playing as well as he did. Well, we still got 5 games to go. Went out. If we win the next 16, we're national champions.
If they win out of the regular season at 10-10 with a win over Michigan State, at Illinois, at Rutgers, is that enough to get them in without any work in the Big Ten tournament? That's my question to you, Doug.
I have no idea right now.
Conference.
It depends on what happens with the SEC, Texas, the Georgias, Vanderbilts, the lower end of that conference. I saw Lenardi and the CBS guy had like 13 SEC schools in. I have a hard time believing that will happen because they'll just cannibalize each other. Maybe, like I said, but before I get off, I would really encourage people to watch that Drake team. That is a very interesting team to watch, and it is really amazing to watch those guys jump from D2 and be as productive as they are at the next level. And let's see if they can jump from Missouri Valley to the Big Ten. Just joking, but maybe. All right, thank you guys.
Doug spreading some rumors.
Yep, let's get those rumors rocking. They're already out there, Gary. I don't know if I know you're not a big social media guy, but I don't know if it's some random account on Twitter that started this, but there are a lot of people who are pushing this Darian DeVries returning to Iowa thing. Like, I don't know where that started, if it was just some random.
It's logical. He's an Iowa guy.
It's somewhat logical, but Fran's still the head coach.
Yep.
Last I checked. So, but anyways, folks, Iowa falling to Oregon 80-78, and I mentioned Evan Braun's is their RTI Threads player of the game. Of course, you can shop RTI Threads and their athletic apparel and the official player apparel of people like Owen Freeman, Peyton Sandfort, and Josh Dix. Josh Dix was terrific tonight as well. Of course, he wants that last layup back, Gary, and that last three that was tipped and blocked to seal the deal. But again, he was really good. Finished the night with 19 points on 8 of 15 shooting. Again, shop RTI Threads at rtithreads.com/NIL. All right, Gary, we're going to let you slide. We've got Tom Kakert here in our queue. We're going to get his thoughts and post-game reaction from Fran. I know Fran has there's a lot of controversy with his emotions and whatnot, but we'll get the latest from Tom. Thank you for being here, and I wish it was under better circumstances.
Me too.
All is not lost, but we're getting closer to that point.
Okay. All right, Corey. All
right, Gary. Thank you for the time.
Take care. You bet.
Appreciate it. All right, let's add Tom Kakert of HawkeyeReport.com into the mix. Tom, good to see you, sir. Live from Carver.
Good to see you. Yeah, good to see you.
All right, a couple things. First of all, I want to get the instant reaction from Coach McCaffrey. I know things are falling. I don't want to say falling apart, but they're certainly falling by the wayside as it relates to this team playing into tournament consideration. What were his initial emotions like following another very, very close and emotional loss?
Yeah, I think he's proud of the effort, but I think they're frustrated with being close and getting close to a win and being able to, they were right there. And you think about it, probably 9 times out of 10, Peyton and Josh both make those layups, and maybe the result is different tonight. It felt like they got a good look on that final play with Josh Dix, but I don't know. He said maybe he bobbled it a little bit and had to kind of reset. I didn't see a replay of it, so I
didn't see a bobble. I didn't see a bobble,
but maybe he tried to just get back to the 3-point line instead of just taking it and catching it.
Biddle's got some. Biddle's
got length. Yeah,
yes.
He's length, and Biddle really hit some big shots. I mean, he was He was really good in the first half, and then a couple of big shots in the second half. He's just a tough guard. But if one of the things that Fran brought up a lot is, and he's brought this up a couple of times now, and this is that he's pretty frustrated with the officiating and the whistle that Peyton and Josh are getting right now. Feels like both, Peyton in particular is getting mugged. He didn't say mugged, but I think that's what he's implying, that Peyton's getting fouled a lot when trying to get free on screens and et cetera. And he's getting pretty frustrated with it. Not Peyton, but I'm sure Peyton is, but Fran believes that Peyton should be getting a better whistle as a senior, and he's not. And Josh is getting held and kind of fouled a lot off of screens. And I can't tell if that's the case. I don't know. That's his thoughts though. And I asked him, said, how do you keep those guys from getting frustrated? And he said, well, they're both pretty level-headed guys, so they tend not to get frustrated. But then, he brought up Peyton gets there was a lot of trash talk. Apparently, I talked to somebody at halftime who sits courtside that confirmed there was a lot of trash talk down there, more than normal. And Peyton said something tonight, and he gets a tech, but the Oregon guys are talking trash, and they don't get one. It's like, what's the harm there with trash talk? If you're not going to call it both ways. So that was kind of the summary of things.
Were they really selling $2 draft beers tonight, Tom?
They were selling them to the students.
Oh, to the students. You can't pass as a student anymore. Is that what you're saying?
I'm a little old. I'm like Rodney Dangerfield in back in the day. I'll do a triple Lindy later.
There you go. Okay, so I know there's been a lot of chatter. I mean, you've had to be you have to be see, what's nice about what I do from afar, Tom, is I can kind of just step away when I get annoyed by it. You don't have that luxury because you are immersed in this. Yes. So tell the people who aren't on the message boards, who maybe don't listen to social media or don't have social media but are watching, where did the Darian DeVries stuff start other than the name? Is there any substance there, and what can you tell us about those rumors?
Yeah, his Darian DeVries, the former Drake coach, and his brother played at the University of Iowa, played football for Hayden Fry, and a great player. Yeah, he's a great player, great defensive tackle. Darren's played at UNI, played basketball there, was at Drake for several years. I mean, he's a kind of a natural fit for if the Iowa job does end up coming open. I don't know if that will happen. Beth Getz is on record as saying she'll evaluate at the end of the year. I was told that she has not made any decisions at this point, one way or the other. But yeah, it's just his name's going to naturally come up. I think McCollum, the coach at Drake now, his name's going to be associated with the Iowa job. I would suspect Steve Forbes' name will come up if the job comes open. I suspect Chris Jans's name's going to come up with the Iowa job. I suspect Beth Getz's first call will probably be to Brad Stevens, since she has a long-time relationship with Brad Stevens. And I'm sure Brad will say, thanks for calling, Beth, and go back to his job as president of the Boston Celtics. But, you never know until you call. So, you make 0 shots you don't take, right? So
yeah,
take the shot, and maybe he has a name that will come up. Yeah, there's just going to be speculation about this until the end of the year, until Beth comes out and says Fran's coming back for another year. He's going to make a couple a change to his coaching staff and bring in some defensive wizard, or they're going to move on, one of the two, or they're just going to go on as is. there's really kind of three options, I think, out there right now. Just steady as she goes, keep moving on it with the contract and things as they are. And, there was a kid here tonight, like a 7-1 kid from Germany, that was here tonight. That's, giant kid. He was bigger than Nolan Freeman, and he's a recruit. And, they're doing a good job with the recruiting side of things, getting some good players. So, but that'll be out the door if there's a change made. So we'll see what happens.
I see a lot of people offering options up in the chat, and that's natural. People,
Jeff Horner.
Yeah.
Dean's coaching a prep school in Des Moines.
Although
Iowa United.
his son might be playing football for Iowa, right?
Yeah, he might be walking on. So we'll see. Yeah, I see. Jeff Horner's down at Truman, doing a good job there. Yeah. So I don't foresee Beth Getz going to the D2 ranks to hire Jeff Horner, but I love Jeff. I've known Jeff for a long time, but I don't see that happening this time around. But we'll see. We'll see.
I want to bounce back forth a little bit if we can, Tom.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about Evan Bronze. I asked Coach about his efforts tonight. He was our RTI Threads player of the game. I just thought the efforts, and he's so proud of a kid who grew up in the area. I shouldn't say had to, but he went to Belmont and played solid minutes there and contributed. Came here, didn't play solid minutes, struggled to see the floor, and now through injury, he's seeing the floor. And talk about a matchup where they needed him. They're not even within the one possession deficit down the stretch if it's not for his efforts. 4-of-4 from the field, 15 points, also made 7 of 9 free throws for a team that actually struggles from the charity stripe. Also added 3 on the 3 rebounds. Just talk about, I know you know Evan and had interactions with him. Got to be a happy night, even though bittersweet because of the loss.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I covered him in high school. When he was playing at Iowa City West and also with the Iowa Barnstormers team. That's now the Murray Elite program, and he ended up down at Belmont. I always thought he might get better offers than that, but he felt comfortable going down there, and I thought did a nice job down there. But he always wanted to get back here, so. This is home for him, and he's comfortable, and he's stayed patient, a lot more patient than a lot of guys would, because a lot of guys today just chase the minutes and chase the money and chase whatever's out there, and he didn't. He's been content. He even talked about it a little bit, just that he wanted to play more, but it just wasn't available to him, and he's making the most of this opportunity, and that's really impressive to me.
Peyton Sanford was good tonight, as was Josh Dix. Both guys missed critical for, layups down the stretch, and you could see visibly the emotion from Peyton Sanford. By the way I looked at that, Tom, is he sees the opportunities slipping by, and obviously to lose the way they lost and with the missed layup. Did you get a chance to talk with either of those guys post game?
Talked to Josh, and he was really disappointed. We did not talk to Peyton, but did talk to Josh, and he's just disappointed. He had the shot late in the final seconds. He had the layup that I still can't believe that didn't go down. I mean, it's just like I've seen the kid play so much, and he never misses those shots. And same with Peyton. I mean, I just didn't fall. 9 out of 10 times those are in, and they just didn't fall tonight.
All right, a couple questions, and we'll let you slide, Tom. We appreciate your time as always. Carrie wants to know if you know what Peyton said that got him the technical.
Don't know. Trash talk.
Yeah, and it sounds like there was a warning first.
Yeah, because there was a lot of trash talk. That's what I was told from somebody who was sitting courtside today, that there was a lot of trash talk that was going on in the first half.
That was mentioned on the broadcast that the officials did tell, I think it was Andy Katz, that there was some warnings given and it continued. So, how about Iowa's chances at the Big Ten tournament? I mean, we're just projecting right now. If Iowa wins 5 straight, they'll be in the Big Ten tournament comfortably, and they'll be back on the bubble at 10-10 in the conference. Now, reasonably, they get Michigan State at home, they get Illinois on the road,
Northwestern on the road,
Northwestern on the road,
Nebraska on the road.
yeah. So they have not been road warriors, so it's hard to predict wins there. But Tom, you're not in the business of predicting, but you sort of are. Does this
I
team?
do. I make predictions all the time, and they're always wrong. So
Does this team
I'm
make it?
consistently wrong. Boy, it's going to be a tight race for that final spot. I think they've got to win Saturday against Washington.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a huge game. And then if they could go to Northwestern and win and have a sweep over Northwestern, I'd feel really good about their chances of getting into the Big Ten tournament, because they'd have wins over all the teams that are down in that area. So if they end up in a tie, they'd have a win over Rutgers. Rutgers is struggling, and they're going to be down on that lower level. They've got a win over Penn State. They'd have 2 wins over Northwestern. They'd have a win over UW, over Washington. So I'd like their chances if they win those 2 games. If they don't win either of those games, I think I was probably going to be done after that Nebraska game.
I asked this question earlier tonight, and I kind of got a I don't know answer. But if, let's just say theoretically, Tom, that somehow Iowa rattles off 5 straight to end the season.
Oh,
All right, that would mean wins at Illinois, at Nebraska,
at Northwestern,
home Michigan State,
yeah,
and home Washington. So, in a world where that happens, are they in the NCAA field without work in the Big Ten tournament?
No, I think they'd have to do some work. I think they're 0-11 now in quad 1 games.
So Rutgers is not a quad 1?
No, it's not a quad 1 anymore. It fell below that. It could surface back up to a quad 1, but as of today, they were not a quad 1.
So at Northwestern would likely be quad 1, right?
Yeah, I think so.
At Illinois is quad 1, Michigan State would be quad 1, and at Nebraska's got to be quad 1. So they've got 4 chances at quad 1 wins.
Yeah.
To your point, it's hard to even imagine a resume like that when they have not. At this point, they have no quad 1 wins.
No.
So, but it would be positive.
11.
Yeah, that's not good. And last we checked, Rutgers and Washington are tied 37-37. That would not be a good loss for Rutgers. So if you're an Iowa fan holding on to hopes of somehow squeaking into the tournament, you're probably rooting for Rutgers to get back into that quad 1 tier as a home team.
Yeah,
so.
I think they'd probably have to make it to Friday if they ran off 5 straight to probably get in the tournament.
And final question from Darrell. I guess this is sort of what you just said. Is Iowa's path now to win the Big Ten? They went out here to the regular season.
Yeah.
It's not reasonable to expect that. But if they were to do that, you think if they get to Friday, say they win 4 of the last 5 and they drop 1 at home against Michigan State, they rattle off 3 good road wins. Can they get into the big dance without winning the conference at that point?
You might be packing for Dayton. I don't want to go to Dayton. I've been to Dayton once. I went there for when they played Tennessee. It's a really fun game, but I didn't enjoy that trip because that was a long drive on a short notice.
Yeah. And Circle Herc wants to know if you'll get him a Carver cone and a Busch Light at the game on Saturday. Tom, you have it in you for Saturday? If he finds you?
I'll be here. So yeah, I don't know about the Busch Light, but maybe we'll share a cone.
There you go. Tom Kakert at HawkeyeReport.com. Tom, there's always better times ahead. There'll always be better times ahead during these moments for fans, and we still appreciate the hard work you do over.
Let's hope that we're talking about a win on Saturday, because otherwise, I think it's going to get kind of messy for things. So
I think they're going to have to win a few more for it not to be messy. But
yeah, I do too. Too. But we'll see what happens with everything with Iowa basketball. It's never a dull moment.
Yep, and things move faster now, right? Like we're not going to wait as long at season's end. To say they don't make the Big Ten tournament or don't make the NCAA's, don't make the NIT, things are going to move pretty fast. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think, we're going to get a signal fairly quickly from Beth Getz once the season is concluded as to what direction she's headed and what she would like to do. So we'll see.
Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. Follow him at Hawkeye Report on X. And Tom, always appreciate your time and your guy Kyle's time for our women's basketball game.
Yep.
Those two teams are kind of trending in opposite directions, but it's the beast that it is. So we appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you Saturday.
Okay. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you, sir. Amanda, thank you for reminding everybody to hit that like button, not just for Carver Cone Love, but for From the Hawkeye of the Storm Love. And speaking of From the Hawkeye of the Storm Love, Lemansky, how about this? Appreciate that donation, Lemansky. Very generous and much appreciated. It's always appreciated, especially when people are in rotten moods because your team didn't perform, didn't win. It's. Do I want them to win? Yes. Is it better for business? Yes. But I'm still here. So I appreciate Lemansky recognizing that. And Mike earlier today leaving a donation. Appreciate that. I don't know if that was for football, men's basketball, women's basketball. I don't know what Mike watches. But if you donate on PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, I'm going to do my best to give you a shout out because every dollar, every penny counts. If you are interested in giving to the cause and supporting this channel, this platform that's here all year long and all season long for men's basketball, women's basketball, and football, there are links in the description. Also, Brian and Mark, along with Chase here, not long ago on Venmo. So appreciate those guys for being part of the show and donating. Let's go to our phone line. But before we do, we want to give one more plug to RTI Threads. RTI Threads, part of our coverage throughout the men's basketball season. We're going to put our caller on hold because there's a lot of background noise there. But you can shop RTI Threads and Owen Freeman's merch, his apparel, along with the lines of Peyton Sanford, Josh Dix, all part of the NIL stratosphere. And check out the partnerships those guys have with our good friends over at RTI Threads in Western Iowa. Visit rtithreads.com/NIL. Support Hawkeyes, support sponsors, support this show. rtithreads.com. And shop your Hawkeye apparel today. All right, let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close. Who's on the line?
This is Tony from mile marker 190 on Interstate 80. I'd like to make a complaint to management about the hold music.
Oh, really? Yeah, you're not used to the hold music. All right. I'd like to make a complaint to your phone company because all I hear is highway noise.
Well, I'm on Interstate 80 and back from Carver Hawkeye Arena.
You're loving being in, even though this team is struggling, you're loving being in Des Moines, aren't you, Tony? You love being able to just zip over to Iowa City.
I had a good friend and acquaintance who was able to make it work.
Well, good to hear. I'm glad. Please drive safe. I know it's cold. Nobody needs to get stranded on a night like tonight. Any observations from being courtside that I'm assuming you got down close to the court?
Yeah, a few things that were mentioned and I wanted to touch on. Number one, I've talked to you about like my past experience as a soccer official. I did not see anything demonstrative from Peyton that warranted that technical foul. To me, that was one of the weakest technical fouls I've ever seen.
Well,
now maybe he said something, but there was nothing from my view. I was about 25 rows up, opposite the Iowa bench. It was not too far from me, and there was nothing to me that looked like, why is the technical foul being?
Real quick, Tony, real quick. It was explained during the broadcast, and it was also explained, Tom was just on with us, that there was a warning given because there was a lot of chipping going on between those guys and apparently other guys as well. And there was a warning given prior, and then Peyton made a shot and said something. So it sounds like it was kind of building up to that point.
Yeah, I guess for me, it just still seemed like normal game flow, trash talk that just always happens. Like, I mean, I get there may have been a warning, and that I may have missed that, obviously, being at the game live in person in Harbor. But to me, it was nothing, unless he said a lot of colorful language and whatever that set it off. It just seemed out of nowhere. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, I know foul. What did he do? You know, it just seemed very shocking to me that.
Well, Tony, we appreciate you calling in. It sounds like you're either in a wind tunnel or you're in a waterfall somewhere. But
give me 1 second. Let me try this.
Is this any better?
yeah, that's
Okay.
That's like black and white.
It was
Tony.
my AirPods. So I'm not driving, so I'm just using my iPhone now.
Your AirPods absolutely stink. You
Okay.
should
Well,
throw those AirPods out the window, Tony.
Sorry. So, anyways, so no, it was just, to me, that was just shocking. I don't know how much you heard of that, but it was just shocking that the technical foul happened. I mean, I know there's warnings given, like you said. I didn't see that. I didn't see that from where I was watching the game live, but there was no demonstrative actions or anything like that. So he must have said a lot of colorful language.
Well, here's what and you could be right on that's soft, that's weak, you don't like it, that's fine. I did say this earlier, and I don't know if you caught it, Tony, or if you were just getting in your car.
Yep, I've been listening the whole game. Yep.
Okay, so you heard what I said earlier. I thought Iowa got the better end of those last couple of 50-50 calls down the stretch. Those could have went either way, and Iowa got every one of them. At least two of them. You could argue three.
I honestly thought the one where the kid hit the banked in 3-pointer, I was like, yep.
Yeah, that's if you go back, they showed that on the Big Ten Network from every angle. There, I just don't know how you can say definitively, because it was called good on the floor. How can you say definitively, yes, it was in his hand? You just can't. And frankly, the one at the end there, it was called Iowa ball.
In the corner, right?
Bronze, yeah, it was Bronze, and whoever the Oregon player was, it was an out of bounds play, and it was Iowa ball on the call on the floor, and they stuck with Iowa, and I thought that was the right call. I almost felt like maybe they would give that to Oregon since they gave the last 50-50 call to Iowa, but they gave both to Iowa, and I would be curious to go back and look now that it doesn't matter anyways because they lost, but Iowa got every opportunity in this game, as you know, Tony, because they got every call down the stretch in the last minute. And then you have the turnover, the unforced turnover with a player's foot out of bounds. And when you look at that, I'd be curious to get a couple different angles of that out of bounds call. I'm not saying it was the wrong call, but you clearly see a foot over the black line. But then from the other angle that was shown on Big Ten Network at the end, it looks like that foot is not down. It was just hovering maybe above the line. I'd be curious to get another view of that, but it doesn't matter now. Oregon won anyways, but multiple opportunities for Iowa to steal this one. You missed 2 layups down the stretch. Hey, Evan Bronze had a nice little flip shot with his left hand to maybe force overtime there at the end. And I honestly, they found a way to lose. You could argue that Oregon found a way to win, but it's another one of the L's.
The other two things I want to touch on. Number one, and I discussed it with the guy, Jeff, that I went to the game with, and I said, I thought Fran could have called a better out of bounds. Like, usually he gets a lot better looks. Like, he had a lot of time. I didn't think the look was that good at the end of the game.
No.
That's just me from my vantage point.
No, I agree.
And what happened, he usually gets a lot. Even the look where we lost the game to Michigan, where Price is falling on a guy, like, that was still a good look.
Well, under 5 seconds is a challenge, Tony.
Yeah, but they had a lot of time. That review took a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, they should have had, I just think, I mean, and I'm a Fran guy, but I think there should have been a better look. I really do. We had a lot of time to draw something up.
We haven't talked to you as much since you've been making your move to Des Moines, but I'm curious now, Tony, this team's sitting at 5-10. Without having had this conversation, I don't know where you stand. What do you want to have happen if they?
It's still NCAA tournament. Like, that was my.
Okay. So if they don't make the NCAA tournament, you're ready to move on as well.
I'm fine with it. I can see both sides of it, but that was my standard before the season.
Okay.
on was Drew.
Yeah.
He was at the end of the bench for most of the second half. He wasn't on a bike. It didn't seem like to me. I saw him at the end of the bench, and I don't know if he was unavailable due to him just telling Fran, I can't go. I don't know if he was unavailable just because
Brock
Fran liked the lineup. You know what I mean? Fran liked the lineup.
This is not a personal attack on Brock Harding. This is nothing personal, but Brock was a disaster down the stretch. I'm sorry.
I don't think he was that good for almost all of the game or most of the game or whatever you want to say.
He was not. And and by the way, he hasn't been good. This is not a one-game thing. He has not been good. Remember earlier in the year in November, December, Tony, when we were talking about, well, is Brock better? Is Drew better? Hey, remember Brock was the starter. And now it's so obvious who the better player is. And then people start wondering if the whole Owen Freeman Brock Harding thing is true. We'll find out.
Well, one thing you got to look at too is, let's roll back to the beginning of this game. Who started? I mean, I know starting doesn't matter, but it wasn't Brock who started.
Yeah, it was
Drew.
Yeah, Drew has
was
been
starting at less than 100%.
Exactly. Yep.
So I mean, I think that kind of answers the hypothetical you're asking: is who's better and who's better now, and was Drew even ready to go down the stretch? Because I mean, he started the game, and Fran obviously started him at less than 100%, if you want to say it that. And,
Jason,
it's just frustrating. I mean, and I agree with. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just say Jason in our chat said, I'm willing to excuse this year's team. Some in a rebuilding year, there's a lot of inexperience. Some players who aren't bought in will transfer. Good players coming in, defense then roll. I just don't know where do we come up with this fantasy idea that somehow next year they're going to play better defense. Aren't we to the point, Tony, where it's clear that this is what they are under Fran? Yes, I understand the next couple of recruiting classes look somewhat different, but this is who Fran is. He's been here 15, 16 years now. I mean, what are we waiting for?
I don't. You reminded me of the last thing I was going to touch on. Fran is, to me, and I was in this game, he did look fired up over some of those calls. Yes, I understand you may get TV shots of him with hands in the pocket, but there were some of them where I was like, yep, it looked like we were going to get the old Fran back. It really did. And it may not have shown up on TV, but there were some where he was not happy. I'm not excusing it. I was just throwing that comment in because we were talking about Fran. I don't know. You're right. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a philosophy change or anything like that on the horizon. Fran is who he is. This is the system he's going to have. Is he going to be locked down? We're going to be top 20 defense. No, I don't think anyone's going to expect that. But this is where he is philosophy-wise, Yep.
Yeah, and there's no question he's had a demeanor change, whether that's because of age, something the administration told him, maybe this is his last year.
Knows?
He knows it. I don't know.
But there's another one out there, and I don't want to feed to the rumors, but something happened with a very close family member, and it's not a son. It sounds like something may have happened with his brother, and that may have calmed him down. I don't know, but that's just a rumor you hear. That may have health-wise calmed him down. Who knows?
Well, Tony, appreciate you calling in, sir, and we look forward to getting you back on StreamYard here at some point soon, and hopefully
it'll probably not be until next basketball season. We have a lot to unpack, but I will still try to stay in touch as much as possible, and I'm a lot closer to you, so.
Yep, absolutely, Tony. Appreciate you calling in, sir. Safe travels back to Des Moines.
Yep, thanks, Corey. Have a good one.
All right. Doug says the program needs energy. That means a change of some kind. So, Doug is as big of a fan as anyone. Everybody has a right to their own opinions, but I get where you're coming from, Doug. Lemansky's super chat earlier. He says, must be difficult to do these post games. Gary and Corey yelled at TV on both missed bunnies at the rim. Too many injured Hawks. I would agree with all that. The injury things. It doesn't help not having Owen Freeman. It doesn't help not having a healthy Drew Thelwell, but I just return to philosophy and the lack of change, regardless of who's playing. The fact that they got absolutely blown out at UCLA, at USC, at Wisconsin, with everybody healthy. That's my issue. It's yes, would they have had a better chance to climb back in the tournament conversation with Owen Freeman? Yes, but the underlying problems still remain. They're not really all that underlying. All right. Before we get to our final caller, which is James, who's been on the phone line waiting to chat, I want to remind everybody to check out this website. Our final plug of the website, I'll kind of give you a brief tour here. This is RTI Threads and their NIL division. You can shop the many Hawkeyes that are partnered with RTI Threads, including several different Hawkeye men's basketball players like Josh Dix, Owen Freeman, and Peyton Sanford. You can also search for Iowa baseball apparel, Iowa football apparel, that of Aaron Graves, Carson Shire, and Zach Lutmer. Check out the apparel and customize yours today. Jacob Gill, also part of this family of merch. Again, rtithreads.com/NIL. Get your gifts today for your favorite Hawkeye friends, family members, or yourself. Makes for a great gift to anybody that bleeds the black and gold. Again, rtithreads.com/NIL. The link is in our description. All right, we'll add James here for our final call of the night. James, welcome to the show, sir.
How you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm about as you'd expect. How are you?
Yeah, for sure, I get that. But first thing I want to get to is the last, like, I think it was 8 minutes or so I watched, like, I don't understand what they were doing, the fact of, like, you missed so many bunnies, and I'd never seen them miss that many open shots, and it was kind of confusing. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, because, like, Peyton had a clear look at the basket, he just missed, and I'm like, you don't see that really. Like, you don't get the chances of, like, you don't miss that many in a row, I feel like. Like, Josh's late was a little bit contested, but he still should have hit that, right? Even if the guy's there, he still should have made that one, right? Like,
He normally does.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. But, like, his was a little contested, but, like, he still should make that 95% of the time, even if you're looking contested, even 99% of the time, really, even if you're looking contested, because you know the contact's coming, right? You can see it's going to be there. So if there is any contact at all, you know it's going to come at that point, if that makes sense, right? When you're driving like that, you see him sliding over, so you know it's going to be there, at least. But that was a little frustrating, because you know that if you make those, you have a chance to win, obviously, because you lost by 2, right? So you even make one of those, it's a tie game, and you never know what happened after that.
Yep.
So that part's a little frustrating. But I'll give Evan Browns his flowers, because obviously, you know, people have said this tonight, he hasn't played a lot, but when he needed to play tonight, he played well, and it's good to see that, you know, an Iowa kid coming back home. And I know Belmont was up and down for him. You know, he wasn't the greatest at Belmont at some points. He wasn't the worst at Belmont at some points. You know, he had a middle kind of road in Belmont. And it's good to see him have a game like this. Obviously, we lost, so it might be foreshadowed with the loss, but I'm just happy he played well at least.
Yeah, I'm proud of him. And he's a well-built kid. I mean, he can right now, he's their best option physically. I mean, Laji Dembele is a guy who has size, doesn't know how to use it. Riley Mulvey can't stay healthy, and Evan Browns is their best option physically. And I think he's their best interior defender. I think he's a better defender than Owen Freeman. I don't think Owen Freeman's very good interior defense, regardless of his health. Obviously, he's a better threat on offense. It's not even close. But no, you got to be proud of Evan, and he doesn't have many games left either.
Yeah, for sure. And it's weird to see, like, the whole, and I know people saying Fran leaving. Obviously, if he leaves, you know, this whole team's going to look different already, right? And it's going to look different, obviously, with no Pate, with no Evan, right? I mean, Evan didn't really get a lot of minutes, but, you know, he's still there, right? But, like, even when Fran does leave, I think people don't realize the fact of, like, the transfer portal is a big thing nowadays, right? So how many people actually leave with him, who they bring in, you know, who do they bring in with him, right? So, like, this team could look completely different next year based off of what the coaching staff looks like, too, you know, and that's another thing I think people don't think about, right? It's like, yeah, you want Fran gone, obviously. And for me, I'm like, if he's gone, I'm happy, because then we need change. If he's not, I can't do anything about it. That's kind of the way I'm at. Like, I want him out because I know we need the change, but if he's not out, obviously I can't do anything about that situation, right?
Can't lose sleep over it. There's more important things.
Yeah, for sure. And that thing, I'm still going to support them, whether he's the coach or not. Obviously, I don't think he should be, but like I said, I'm still going to support them either way, because that's just who I am. But that's the scary part for me. Is like, if he does leave, you just don't know what the roster is going to look like next year, right? And yes, you could have a Darren DeVries, right? But you don't know. I'm just going to bring up a name, obviously, because that's the name that everybody's floating around. Right? I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. But you could bring in DeVries, and the roster could look completely different. You don't know whether or not it might take him a couple years just to get that going too with the roster. And I know he's a great coach, and I'm not denying that part, but you just never know how that's going to look with that too.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything, James. And there are people. I mean, there are going to be people that are on Beth. To Tom Kakert's point earlier, there are going to be people on the short list for Beth Getz. It's going to be very similar to if Kirk Ferentz walked tomorrow. There would be people on the short list for Beth Getz, and I think she's got that luxury with Iowa men's basketball. I think she's got people who would probably take the job in a heartbeat. It's not a poor man's job.
Yeah,
So,
and you have. My bad, but you have two guys from the state who are really qualified and have done really great jobs of where they're at, and Darren DeVries and Chris Jans, right? Those are two guys from the state of Iowa who have done their jobs. And I'm not saying those two names. I'm just saying those two names because they're from the state of Iowa, right? So, like,
yep.
those are two names from the state of Iowa, and they've been successful at other programs before in the past, right? So you do have names from actually this state in general. And a lot of states like that, like Missouri or like Minnesota, might not have that luxury of like having guys from the states who have been so successful, if that makes sense.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely agree, James. Appreciate you calling in, sir. We will be back on the air Saturday and Sunday. Will we get you?
I should, hopefully, depending on the schedule, obviously, depending on how our games go. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, you want to win this one just to get your chance to the tournament against Washington. I think that's the biggest thing. Is just you got to win that one because you don't want to fall out of it. But it's a tough loss, and it's tough to lose the way I said, just missing the shots, right? The shots you should have made, and you missed those shots. And if you make those shots, you should win. Now, obviously, you don't know because I thought that three was good as well, but it's bang bang. There's some camera angles that looked like it might have been on a fingertip, some that didn't. But I don't think you could overturn it either way because there was no evidence there for me. But that would have changed the game either way, right? So you never know how that would have worked out either. If that was called, you don't know how it's gonna change the game either. So you live with the punches. But enjoy your night, get some rest, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, James. All right, folks, we're wrapping things up. We appreciate everybody being here. The Hawkeyes falling to the Oregon Ducks. Final score 80-68. And that's in spite of a career day from Evan Bronze. 15 points for the Iowa City native. Also added 3 rebounds, 7 made free throws on 9 trips. That's impressive, especially down the stretch of this game. And he drew 6 fouls, a team high, 6 fouls. That's 3 times the next highest amount from Josh Dix and Peyton Sandfort. Speaking of Josh Dix and Peyton Sandfort, Peyton scored 25 today, had 4 made threes. Josh Dix, 19 points. 8 of 15 from the field. He did not see the bench. 40 minutes played for Josh Dix. Bryce Sandfort continues to struggle. Added 6 points, 2 of 5 from the field. Did make 2 big threes, though. Maybe that'll kind of bust him out of his slump. We also saw a few minutes from Chris Taggio. Brock Harding continues to struggle. Saw 24 minutes, including minutes down the stretch. Had 5 points, 2 of 4 from the field. Drew Thelwell, not healthy right now. He was 0 of 3 from the field, did start, but not healthy. Played 15 minutes. Laji Dembele, he's struggling. 15 minutes played, 4 points. Did give them 6 rebounds. He's improved his ability to attack the glass, which is huge because obviously he's playing more minutes, and he started tonight. Only played 15 minutes, though. Seydou Traore played 17 minutes. He is just all over the place. 1 of 4 from the field. They got a lot of pieces that are just like they've never really meshed, and then the injuries don't help. Iowa shot 49% from the field, including 41% from 3, made 9 of them, gave themselves a chance, but once again, defensive struggles throughout much of this game. I thought defense was better in the last 5-10 minutes, primarily because of people like Evan Bronze, but again, they gave up 9 threes, and Oregon shot their free throws better than Iowa did, marginally better, but better. Shot 48% from the field, and Oregon out-rebounded Iowa. They were plus 9, 36-27. They also won in the paint. They were plus 14. And Iowa now will bounce back or try to bounce back against the other Northwest Pacific Coast team. That's Washington this coming Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Time on FS1. Folks, I'm here all week. We'll have coverage for Iowa women's basketball Sunday, and you may even get some recorded content here in the next couple of days. The Hawkeyes and the Bruins of UCLA, Lauren Betts and company, will take their trip to Carver this Sunday. That game will be on Peacock, and we'll have live post-game coverage with myself and Kasheen Alexander following the game. If you're interested in donating, certainly I would appreciate that. But if you're also interested in sponsoring or maybe even supporting our sponsor in some way, the easiest way to really do that is just to go buy your t-shirts, go buy your apparel, and search rtithreads.com/NIL. And one final plug tonight, folks, for a guy who's been with us throughout the entire season, Brad Van Meter. Don't forget, call Brad to get your free quote on homeowners, auto, life, and so many other types of insurance. And we keep seeing the need for good homeowners insurance, especially as we approach another spring and another stormy summer season ahead. Call Brad 515-256-6480. That's 515-256-6480. Or you can visit him online, bradvanmeter.com. He's located down on Fleur Drive in Des Moines. That's Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm. Folks, we'll talk to you this weekend. I'm Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Have a great night.